FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and it's 1-820. Got to get used to saying that. I wanted to say 19, but it is 20. You know, we don't really write our own checks anymore. Everything takes place digitally, and the computer fills in all the dates anyway. So the idea, it used to be the big joke. Whenever New Year's came along, you would forget, and you'd write the year before date on it. And oftentimes, banks in their finite wisdom would return the check because it was stale. But we don't really have to worry about that stuff anymore. But we still have to worry about it when you do what I do and you're announcing shows and times and dates on the radio. Then you got to be aware of the year and not to slip up because it's so easy to. Well, hey, they're slipping up all over the place. The politicians, Virginia, they have gone way too far. We've got our expert on self-defense, modern combative systems. We're talking about George Matheis. George, you've been a law enforcement, military police officer, and trained SWAT agents, officers, and you kind of know what you're talking about. It's great to have you back. So we're looking at this Virginia situation, and this is a gun grabber's paradise there for now. I don't believe that anything they're trying to do is going to pass the Supreme Court, pass Supreme Court muster, or even the Fifth Circuit, which I believe Trump has flipped, and it's now majority Republican appointed judges on the court. You've been keeping an eye on the situation in Virginia yourself, since you don't live that far from it. What is your take as far as what's going on?
Hey, Kerry, how you doing today? First of all, thanks for having me back.
Always.
Yeah, it's just crazy down in Virginia. I mean, what it comes down to is these politicians are the ones that, they want to try to pass the laws. I just remember, just want everybody to remember and bring everybody's attention that in 2019, a police officer was murdered by gunfire almost every week, all 52 weeks out of the year. For the first time since I can remember, police departments are having a hard time, actually hiring police officers. And now the government thinks that they're going to get these police officers to go door to door to the citizens that they've sworn an oath to protect and serve, and they're going to go take their illegally owned firearms from them. Kerry, I just don't think it's going to happen, and I hope they're not going to have the dumb enough, idea to try to bring in the blue helmets to do it.
Yeah, well, Governor Blackface there is not a real sharp guy. His attorney general is pretty much a moron. They're all pretty stupid there, and then Nanny Bloomberg financed all of these gun grabbers to get elected to their assembly, and now they've reached critical mass. I think the people are mad as hell, and they're just not going to take it anymore. There's a demonstration that's going to be taking place there soon that you're going to participate in?
Yeah, Kerry. People are going to have to, check. Facebook's the best place for it to keep in touch with everything going on in the Second Amendment in Virginia. There's going to be a big rally down there on the 20th of this month, 20th of January, as you said, 2020. And they're expecting well over 1 million people. I know there's a bunch of us that are going down from Pennsylvania and other surrounding states to support, our fellow citizens down there in Virginia as they're, being oppressed.
Yeah. Well, in this current world here, George, it's always been the left, for the most part, that has engaged in political violence. And that was something I was going to ask you about, aside from the church shootings. But the left in the last election and ever since has been burning cars, beating people up, Antifa, stopping traffic, all of these things. And I think we're getting to the point where those of us on the right have just kind of fed up with it. Like, you can't put a bumper sticker on your car because they're going to key your car. You can't wear a hat because they're going to assault you. And finally, I think we've just reached a point in this Virginia imbroglio here is just the final straw where everyone is just saying no mas.
No, I have to agree, Kerry. I mean, with this ridiculous, swing at, President Trump, who's doing a great job, protecting our country and supporting our troops and protecting our law enforcement, right down to what's going on in Virginia. And like you said, you can't even wear, a hat to state, how you feel about certain things. They're real quick that, they want to kill babies, but they're against us killing terrorists. And they want to use these intimidation tactics that are right out of the Nazi rule book, to try to take away our voice. Well, I think, citizens across the country, they're just tired of it, and we've had enough of it over the last couple of years. And I think more and more you're going to see people standing up for themselves because the government, you give them an inch and they try to take a yard, and people are just fed up, Kerry.
Hey, let me tell you something. It's also a total miscalculation on their part. In Florida here, all right, we have plenty of liberals, and many of them carry. All right, this really isn't a political issue. Maybe those people in the northern suburbs don't believe in it, but most liberals throughout the state, away from urban areas, believe in the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear weapons, keep and bear arms. And they're making a big misjudgment that is going to alienate people within their own party as well, because look, you're in the countryside of Virginia. It's just people go hunting. Everybody has a gun there. Everyone in Virginia, Virginia, first state, and well, it wasn't exactly the first state, but one of the first settlements. The gun culture is there, and they're just not going to be able to stop it.
Well, I see, exactly. They talk about the gun culture. Well, people that believe that, it's a God-given right to self-defense and they choose to arm themselves, that's why, luckily, they've decided now to let Marines, or at least military police Marines, be armed again on installations. You heard the outcry from the pilots down in Pensacola wanting to know why, they couldn't be armed. Vice President, or I should say, not even Vice President, presidential candidate Joe Biden, he made fun of the Texas governor when he passed a law saying that Texans had what I couldn't believe is I had no idea they didn't have the ability or the right to carry in their places of worship. And then 3 months after this law is passed, a good guy with a gun saves who knows how many people.
And if they were a little more aggressive, they might have saved all of them, but we can't really second guess them. They were heroes for sure. They put a stop to it. So you're in a house of worship, whatever, you don't have a weapon on you, and somebody starts shooting. What is the proper way to handle that?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Trilogy Metals is a world-class developer in Alaska's Ambler Mining District. The company already possesses 8 billion pounds of copper, 3 billion pounds of zinc, over 1 million gold-equivalent ounces, and now over 77 million pounds of cobalt. Trilogy's Arctic project boasts an after-tax net present value of $1.4 billion with a 33% IRR. Trilogy is led by an experienced management team with proven success in discovering and developing projects in Alaska. The company is well capitalized, has no debt, and possesses strong institutional support. Trilogy trades on the New York and Toronto exchanges under the ticker symbol TMQ. To learn more, go to trilogymetals.com. That's trilogymetals.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Harry, you really have to look, and we got a really good video, even though, of course, it was a very disturbing, sad video from Texas. And what a lot of people did is they just got down and they kind of stayed in place. Well, they're really fishing a barrel. Like we talk about any active shooter situation, even beforehand, before anything happens, you want to make sure that you're sitting close to an exit. And the first time you hear gunfire, first thing you want to do is you want to get out of that barrel and not be one of those fish. And you want to have an exit strategy before the bullets start firing. I'm just glad that, things worked out the way that they did, and that we didn't have a big crossfire in there, because far too many people, when they do carry a firearm, they see that as their go-to. And when the only thing that you have is a hammer, everything starts looking, a lot like a nail. These churches, and I'm in charge of security at York, Freedom Biker Church in York, PA. And the big thing is that you want to make sure that you have somebody on the door so that these people are not even, breaking the threshold of the sanctuary. and you want to make sure that you have trained people to go hands-on so that, your only response isn't firearms. There's a lot that goes into it.
Mm-hmm. So we often talk about layers of security because there's no way to always protect everyone, everything, but layers of security really come into play here, don't they?
They do. And church security is a very interesting thing. I mean, my background is as a SWAT officer and a DoD combat skills instructor. And as a bouncer, and I'd say out of all the skill sets that I have, probably my bouncing skill sets are what's helped me most in the church. It's a very interesting thing because you want the people to feel comfortable. You want them to know who the security personnel are, but again, you don't want to interrupt the flow of the services. But you need to have a plan, and a lot of that has to do with the people being familiar enough with the security personnel that you can gather intelligence. You can, if somebody's having some sort of a domestic situation, that people feel close enough to you that they're going to, share that information with you, and they know that you're not going to share with anybody who doesn't need to know. And that's where a lot of the threats that we handle, that's where they come from, are domestic situations. In the instance in Florida, this gentleman had been helped out by the church, but he wanted money. And when they didn't give money, I guess that's what, very, provoked his anger. But he was known to the church. Right. And most times in church shootings, the shooter is known to somebody in the congregation.
So that whole thing, if you see something, say something, huh? But the police are really, how can they stop this? Even if someone is acting suspiciously and you believe they might be capable of violence without some type of evidence or proof that they're planning this, there's really a limit to what can be done, isn't there?
That's true, Kerry. I mean, really what we have to do is we have to be vigilant, and that's why nobody knows your house better than you do. And I know there's, when you talk about church security, protecting place of worship, one of the big things is hiring private security. And the primary reason why they want to hire primary security is they want to take the liability off of the church itself in case something happens. The problem with that is if you do hire outside security, and that's what you count on overall, they're not going to have their pulse on the congregation or what goes on in that particular church. When it comes to that, you do need some sort of an internal security and safety plan.
Yeah, always have a plan. No matter where you are, you always need to have a plan. These Antifa thugs are particularly aggravating. Because if you had a gun, you'd want to just shoot them all because they're just so aggravating and they're like violent. They wear masks. Shouldn't be allowed. Demonstrators should not be allowed to wear masks. If they're demonstrators, they're rioters. It's really that plain and simple.
No, that's the truth. As soon as you cover your face, you're a terrorist. I mean, I don't care if you're wearing a burqa or you're wearing a Klan hood. To me, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So, how do you prepare for these people?
Well, it's like anything else, Kerry. You have to generalize and you have to totally be aware of your surroundings. If you have the ability to be armed, you are armed. And if you're going to go somewhere outside of your comfort zone, a place you're not familiar with, make sure that you do your research beforehand. And if possible, make sure you have a man on the ground. It's a scary time, to be traveling for business and going to strange cities, where if you're not local, you may not know what's going on or, know things to stay away from. You want to, be the gray man, protect yourself, but try to do your best, like I said, to stay under the radar. No matter where you go, like, you always hear me reiterate over and over again, stay away from stupid people, places, and things. Stay close to an exit. At the first sign of any kind of an issue, make sure you get out of the kill zone. And that works for everybody, whether they're armed or not, every man, woman, and child. Yeah.
So do you not go places now as a result? Or, do you not go to concerts? What do you do here?
I don't, that's given into terrorism. That's the idea of terrorism. And we have, unfortunately, a lot of domestic terrorism going on. I haven't changed, the way that I live. I would never have gone to, Rockefeller Center, 20 years ago. Just like I wouldn't go now for, based on the same reason. I don't want to be in those big type of crowds. But if you're going to go in those things, just have your head about you. And, you want to make sure that you avoid, alcohol consumption and, being overly intoxicated. You want to make sure you're aware of your surroundings, because there are going to be retaliations for what's going on in the Middle East, and they're going to be coming to rural America. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised where these things happen. So go out there. If you don't have the time or money for training, go on YouTube. Watch videos like, Stop the Bleed, How to Stop Heavy Bleeding, take a CPR class and things like that. And if you're able to, make sure you go armed whenever possible.
Yeah. It's like I've never carried, mostly not carried, put it that way. But it's really making me think now might be a good time. But anyway, I have to make that decision. Any other general advice you can give people, red flags that something is amiss and you need to be very aware of your surroundings?
Yeah, the biggest thing is people have to learn to trust their intuition and act on it. Your intuition is a gift from God. Make sure that you don't wait around till you understand why you're getting the feelings that you are. If you're getting a feeling that you need to avoid, a certain people, place, or thing, go ahead and avoid it, and don't be afraid to change your plans. If you're pulling into front of a convenience store and for some reason you get a feeling that you should not go in that store, turn around and go somewhere else, and that's why you don't want to let your car, your tank run all the way out. So you choose where you can go get your gas and you're not forced into it. Little things like that, the redundancy of thinking ahead before things happen.
Yeah, and situational awareness, really. Something, especially with cell phones now, George, people walk around totally unaware of their surroundings and potential threats around them. And yet it really increases your chances of becoming a victim, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, Terry. Terry, you don't want to be, distracted. Personally, I don't take my cell phone out unless I'm in a stationary person, or position where I can have my back up against the wall. And it's definitely not a thing for when you're driving or when you're walking around. You need to keep your head on a swivel, whether it's a traffic accident or a criminal assault. The closer, the farther out that you see something happen, the more time that you're going to have to make a decision about it.
Yeah, great point. So looking ahead here, 3 pieces of advice you can give to every person out there who really can profit from it, reduce their chances of being a victim.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing, Carrie, is always carry a flashlight because a lot of these places are going to be low light situation. Power goes out, any kind of interruption you want to be able to see. And your pen should always be your first option. And you can teach this all the way down to your kids and, the other loved ones in your life. Somebody grabs a hold of you, I don't care how big and tough they are. If you have a pen in your hand, you start stabbing them in the face, they'll let you go. And that's the kind of mindset we need to teach our kids and, everybody in our country to stop being a victim and stand up and protect yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. And those pens, you don't even need one of those ballistic pens, right?
Hey, a pencil will work. I don't want to even be stabbed in the face with a number 2 pencil.
Yeah, so it really doesn't matter. I got stabbed by somebody with a pencil one time. I don't want to tell you about it, but it's not pleasant. And, just be prepared, have a plan, and know your surroundings, right?
That's it.
So, all right. Hey, George, where's the latest place to find you? Where's the best place?
Currently, you can find me. The best place is going to be on Facebook. I'm currently the vice president of Dominion Security Services. We do a lot of private investigations and security services in the D.C., Maryland metro area.
All right. Excellent. Hey, questions or comments for George or myself? And we've been talking to George now for 8 years. Just send us an email, kl@kerrylutz.com, Twitter feed @KerryLutz. Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. And visit our home site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. George, always a pleasure. Hey, best wishes for the coming year to you and your family, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Hey, thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.